has no official comment.
We're very pleased that each of you was able to come this morning and join us at this historic spot for this ceremony. I hope you can all hear. Can everyone hear me all right in the back? Is all right? Okay, very good. Let me first of all remind you that at the close of the ceremony, immediately at the end, the cannon will be fired. You'll have no difficulty hearing that. The cannon will be fired. Please do not be alarmed. It will be rather loud, though, and that will come immediately at the end of the ceremony. So I wanted to mention that before I forgot it. This is the 122nd anniversary of the Battle of Wilson's Creek. As you know, according to many historians, the most important, or certainly one of the most important, decisive battles in the Civil War, fought early in the war west of the Mississippi. And for many, many years, it's been a custom to meet at the 10 o'clock hour on August the 10th to commemorate that occasion. This began with the veterans themselves. I do not know the exact year of the first meeting, but at least as far back as the 1880s, reunions were held by veterans and their families and their friends, often here either at the Ray House or at Bloody Hill across the way or at some other point nearby. I'm just wondering if there are those present this morning who have an ancestor who, in fact, fought at the battle or was present at the battle, a great-grandfather or some ancestor. Are there those here who know for a fact that you did? Could we see a hand, please? Keep your hands up just a moment. Are there others here whose ancestors may not have been in this particular battle, but you know for a fact that they fought on one side or the other in the Civil War? Would you join us there? All right. That's quite a large number. So I'm sure those who fought at that time would be pleased to know that their memory is still being honored. We meet today, of course, to honor the memory of those who fought and the sacrifices that they made. As I was looking this week on television at the films from Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the horrors of atomic war, I was just thinking that while that is all very true, for those who were in the midst of a Civil War battle, it wasn't really any less horrible in its own way, or the sacrifice wasn't any less that those made, just in a smaller area maybe. So we want to honor them and their sacrifice. We, of course, are not here to glorify war. We're not glad that a war had to be fought. But as you think, really, it's been 122 years now since any shots have been fired, or bombs dropped, or any war has been fought on this site or in this part of the world. That's really quite a record, isn't it? There are not very many places in the world that can say it's been 122 years since we had a war, since we had a revolution. In some places it's only been a day, or it's still going on, or it's been only a short time. So we have something to be grateful for, I think, and that we can come to this site and it has been so long. We have also to be grateful that we have this lovely park with the ongoing restorations and work that is being done here. You'll be hearing more about that. And I think we have a lot to be grateful for right here at the Ray House and the plans that are being made to further repair it and restore it. And you can see the fence work and other things that are being done here. And I personally, and I know you are too, am grateful for the natural beauty of this spot. We have this national park that will be ours forever, I trust, so that people can come not only to remember a battle, but they can come to see how this part of the world originally was before man had brought many changes to it. And they can see a moment in time, 1861, get some idea of the history and of that time. So there are a lot of things that we have, I think, to be grateful for and commemorate this morning as we come out here, as well as the moment of the battle itself. But I'm not here to make speech, so I don't want to take up your time. I would call your attention to the announcements that are listed on your program. Those of you who are not regular members of the Greene County Historical Society, I would invite you to our upcoming programs. And Arthur Galbraith, Mr. Gordon McCann. Many of you have heard them in one place or another. I haven't had that opportunity, so I'm particularly looking forward to that. And I understand they are going to play some selected music for us from the period of the Civil War. So this is going to be a special treat, and we're looking forward to this part of our program. I'm just going to turn it over to them here and let them get the microphone and the arrangements made however they want to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you hear now?
Sure.
All right. Well, I have a few remarks to make before we start. You all know what happens when someone who is interested in genealogy gets an audience. He talks. And he usually talks about his own family. And maybe he will listen a little while to somebody else's family history. But all the time he's listening, he's sparring for an opening to top the story with his own family. This is what we have here, a captive audience, you might say. So I'll say a few words about my family, and then Gordon will say a little about his, because it does lead into what we're here to do. I would like to say something about Gordon McCann. He's my friend and co-ed. And we played together about 7 years, and we're very, very interested in fiddle music from a historical standpoint and from what I call an immigration standpoint. I think the music that we play and like to hear played is music that is an immigrant just as much as we are immigrants. We're all immigrants. We're mostly from the British Isles, and this music is mostly from the British Isles. But Gordon and I have been together about 7 years, as I said, and we have done a great deal and had a lot of fun about our music. I'll tell just a little about my family element now that I want to mention, and then he'll take over from there. My great-grandfather was in the War of 1812 from Hawkins County, Tennessee, and he later came to the Greene County area in about 1850. My other great-grandfather had already preceded him in 1841 and homesteaded, and my wife and I still own a good chunk of that homestead east of Springfield on Green River. Two sons of that great-grandfather were in the Battle of Pea Ridge on opposite sides. They didn't know they were joining on opposite sides. They didn't know until after the battle was over that they had fought against each other. One of them was wounded and died from his wounds about a year later. And the other one is buried on the little family cemetery on my place that we still own east of town. The Confederates is buried there. The Union soldier is the one who died. Also, I'd like to add that not every person is a bleeding veteran, you know. For about each one who has shed blood, there's some shivering cowards around. And I have a pretty good notion that my grandfather was one of those, because it's a pretty well-known fact that he and some other neighbors hid in the woods on August the 10th, 1861, until the cannon's roar stopped. He had 3 children, and I don't blame him. If I'd been there, I'd say move over. I'd like to have a place here, too. But to make a long story short, that great-grandfather and my grandfather and his brothers and all have been fiddlers. and I've inherited it somewhat. And the saying is, I'm deep into the sin of the devil's box. The city was always looked down on by a certain element of people. But we're going to try to tell you and play for you some tunes that were in existence at the time of this battle that we're commemorating. Gordon?
Well, just to further illustrate, what we're telling you is no different than any families that lived in this part of the country for 5, 6, 7 generations. My family was split. My mother's people were from Washington County, Arkansas, and I had my great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, and his 2 brothers were all killed at the same time in 1864, and they're buried in a cemetery at Cane Hill under a triple headstone in that cemetery. And the McCann side fought on the north, so this is typical, though, for anybody who's been in this area very long. And the interesting thing about this Cane Hill Cemetery, it sits on a hill there, and it's where in November of 1862, General Marmaduke had his battle, and it was one of the little preliminary skirmishes they had before Prairie Grove. And that leads us into our first tune, which is an old hornpipe called Marmaduke's Hornpipe, which was supposedly named in honor of General and then Governor Marmaduke, but really it's probably an old Irish hornpipe of some kind. But this is the type of music they dance to and listen to at this church. Get over a little more. Guitars were just becoming popular in the United States. You'd more likely have seen a banjo. Well, that's about it. Banjo. And now the next tune we're going to play. All right, this is notice all these tunes, of course, I'm sure came from over the pond, as the old-time fiddlers used to say. And this one's called Leather Britches. Now, Leather Britches, the names of these tunes, most of them have no reason at all. We don't know where they came from. The leather britches were the old-timers used to take green beans and dry them, and they'd string them, and they'd split them so that they curved like an upside-down V, and they called them leather britches. But when you go to England or Ireland, this is called McDonald's Reel. square dance tunes. And they didn't only square dance though, they also had the Virginia reel and a lot of the different type dances like that. So the next I'm going to play is more in the class of the reels. It was written somewhere around 1839 as a minstrel tune. You still know it. It's called Buffalo Gal. And in the South it was called Alabama Girls now, but it's still a very popular tune. Well, we'll play another hornpipe now. This is called Fisher's Hornpipe, and the first printing of this they ever saw was in 1780. It was in a book of hornpipes and cotillions by a man named Fisher with an A, F-I-S-H-A-R. But this has always been a popular hornpipe.
This will sound familiar to you, I'm sure you've all heard.
Published in 1899 called Sparks from the Campfire. I imagine they have it in their library over here at the park. And it was just a series of short stories and vignettes about the Civil War, the kind that were put on cheap paper, and they were always signed by Mrs. H or Mr. J or something. No real authenticity to them, but there's a lot of stuff in here about the Trans-Mississippi and a lot about this particular area around in here. And one of the stories is that on the eve of the Battle of Wilson Creek, a mother brought her young boy to see General Lyons. And she wanted him to be the regimental drummer. And so General Lyons said, well, let's test him out. So he had the regimental piper come in, and he played the hardest tune he knew for a drummer to follow. It's called The Flowers of Edinburg. And the story goes on that the boy got the position and came out here and was the drummer boy for the whole battle. And the next morning after the battle was over, one of the northern men was still out here, and he heard the drum calling, "Wake up." And so he searched over the field and he found this little boy laying with both his feet shot off from a cannon. And the story goes, the boy died that evening. Now, of course, there's no corroboration to that. And here's the point about the traveling of these tunes. Now, this is an old tune. And when we were at Wolf Trap a few years ago, we played with Irish musicians that played this almost identically the same way, and yet there's 150 years difference between art and these people. That's how this stuff, like the ballads, that holds its own identity. The Pioneers Waltz. And this is an old Irish waltz called Sheamus O'Brien. Written about 1863 or something.
Your coming, Mr. Galbraith, Mr. McCann, and adding to our program this morning. This has been a real treat for us.
Thank you.
Our speaker of the day needs a little introduction to most of us. It was just 1 year ago today that many of us met David Lane for the first time as he was coming to Springfield from Pipestone, Minnesota, I believe it was, and coming to accept the responsibilities as superintendent here at the Wilson Creek National Battlefield Park. So we're coming now after 1 year's time, and it seemed quite appropriate to ask Mr. Lane to be our speaker today. and to say whatever he would like to say about his first year here, what's been done, what's planned, perhaps some of the dreams he has, and whatever else he would like to say pertaining to the battle and to the car. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to our speaker, Mr. David Lane, the Park Superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Speaker. Music was very beautiful and very appropriate this morning. I wish it could go on. It certainly lightens one's heart. Well, it was true a year ago today. Christy and I had just been down here for our first trip down to Wilson Street to look for a house, which we very thankfully found that day, a place to live down here, and within 3 weeks we moved down here to take up residence and begin our duties at the park. It's been a fascinating year and a very fast-paced year. I've gotten to know many of you. I don't claim to know all of you yet, but I hope as time passes that opportunity will occur. At the time that I came to Wilson Creek a year ago, many accomplishments have been made over the years, and of course a major accomplishment of the Visitor Center, located on Highway 182. I have to admit Jim O'Toole was a tough act to follow. He's a very adept young gentleman that's gets things done. But many challenges remain, and I hope to address some of those this morning, some of the challenges that we have addressed and some that we have to address in the future. However, I do feel that before we do that, we should turn our attention just briefly to this 122nd anniversary of the Battle of Wilson Street, and perhaps think about the morning 122 years ago, when the Battle of Wilson Street at this time was actually still in progress. 122 years ago, the Ray family was probably over here. John Ray was probably either on the porch or as the wounded were brought in, helping the doctors with the wounded. The wounded were first placed in the house, then on the porch, and the porch in the back. And as the wounded increased and increased, probably where I'm standing and where you're sitting is filled with wounded soldiers. The house, by this time of the morning, had been shelled by the Dubois battery on Bloody Hill, with Lieutenant Dubois and firing on McIntosh's troops who had defeated Plummer in the cornfield down across the front rail fence down here. As he opened his battery on those troops, they came down across the field and up across by the house here. Shell fire went past the house. As far as I know, the only thing hit around the house here was the chicken house, which is out in the back, by, I believe, a solid shot. Also, later on in that time, I believe that the Ray children found a live round in the garden sometime later when they were digging. But, so you were 122 years ago right now here at the Ray House. These events had occurred. On the battlefield by this time, lines advanced down the valley as he waited for Confederate cavalry ahead of him and the outposts ahead of him. Had come to a standstill on Bloody Hill across the way as the Pulaski, Arkansas battery opened fire and pinned the Union troops down. By this time, Lyon's command on Bloody Hill had survived 2 Confederate counterattacks, and by this time of the morning, General Lyon had been dead about an hour. Sigel had been defeated about a mile south of here at the Sharp Farm. And at this appropriate time, at this exact time, almost precisely, the Confederates were mounting their 3rd and final assault on Bloody Hill. And by the time this program ends this morning, the Battle of Wilson Street will be over with, and the Union Army will be withdrawing back to Springfield, and Confederates will hold the crest of Bloody Hill. I think if we commemorate these events and honor these men this morning, that it's appropriate to report to you on the developments and the current project status of this national battlefield that will forever hold these men in this nation's history. In this past year, some of the challenges that have faced us, the museum that was installed at the new visitor center, we had some flow problems with the museum, we had some content problems, and we had some script in the museum cases that was too small to read conveniently for most people. We also, the staff and many of the people that used the battlefield felt that there was not sufficient time given to the importance of the state of Missouri in the museum at the Wilson Street Visitor Center. And we've addressed these things with the Harper Story Center,
And we hopefully on November, about the 1st of November, will close the museum for about a month. Some renovations will take place at that time, and we hope to have a product that is well worthy of the national battlefield when we finish that. One of the other things, of course, is lighting in the museum cases. At the present time, as you go through the museum and the fiber optic display is on, the museum cases are all dark. And we'd like to have it be able to be used mutually as people through the museum and watch the fiber optic display with the battlement. The Ray House that we're sitting by and standing at this morning, one of the first things we had to be involved in was just simply protection of the Ray House with a intrusion alarm system, and we placed smoke and heat detectors in the house. We've located a fire pumper over here. We have located a major large capacity tanks for water and a fire system for the house. Unfortunately, due to the archaeological significance of every place you walk around here, we've been unable to put the tanks in at this time, but nevertheless, we do feel that we've done the best we can to protect this house. Funding for the house has been up and down and around this past year. However, I am pleased to announce that this morning, and actually this morning, Mr. Bill Hose and a partner from the Williamsport Training Center back east is going to start work on the final architectural work on the house, the survey of the house, and actually this morning, or today, the renovation and the preservation of the Ray House will begin. I think that's very appropriate. Staffing, we've added 3 permanent positions over the past year, basically simply with operating funds, not with additional funds that were given to us, but with the new visitor center in place and the responsibilities that we face with that, we've had to put a great deal of our operating money into simply hiring people to keep the battlefield protected and operational in the visitor center at the time. So we do have 2 new interpretive people with us, and we have 1 new maintenance position, and I hope we get another maintenance position for the battlefield this coming year. Our fiscal year 1984 begins October 1st. We also have $150,000 that we generated out of the jobs program, and we have 9 people working on that right now. We have 6 more to be hired within probably about a month, and these people are all working on the restoration of the historic scene, removing non-native vegetation, some of the hedge and other non-native vegetation to the battlefield area, and we're doing some clearing of non-historic fence lines, and this is progressing very well. As well as employing probably a total of about 16 people for about 6 months through that program. And our funding looks good for 1984. Hopefully we'll be able to have a little spare money around to do some of the acquisition work we need to do in placing cannons and carriages on the battlefield to delineate some of the battle lines and give us a more appropriate view of the actual scenes of action here at Wilson Street National Battlefield. I am also pleased to announce, and some of you are aware of this and some of you may not be, that some of the problems that were being generated over the initiation of funding for the tour road and the final planning for the final phase, or the last phase of the tour road, the planning money has been released. The first phase, of course, is ready to go at the present time, and we've been promised that the entire project will be funded and put to contract in 1984. And this does my heart good, and I hope it does the hearts of many of you good, because this is a very competitive National Park Service, and there are 340-some areas competing for the available dollars, and I feel that it's indicative of the respect with which the National Park Service holds Wilson Street National Battlefield, that the funding for this project has been generated, and that also, I might add, the hard work of many of you who have shown a great deal of interest in completing the tour road of the battlefield. To close, I want to say that I recognize that over about a 30-year span of time, many of you have worked hard. Some of you initiated, some of you have worked hard as the time has gone by to realize this national battlefield. And when the land came over to the National Park Service, we were able to generate our own activity and join in working hard to preserve this area and develop this park. And together we'll continue to work hard to assure the continued development and fulfill of this national battlefield, and to fulfill the dream that was expressed by veterans 100 years ago today, in 1883, that this would be a perpetual shrine to the men who fought and died at the Battle of Wilson's Creek. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lane, and we look forward to these things which are going to be developed. To conclude our program this morning, Ms. Carol Bagma, a student at Glendale High School in Springfield and a member of the Glendale Band, is going to play the national anthem for us on the trumpet. And as she's coming, let me reiterate the invitation to all of you to come over to the